guys, welcome back to Plow and Pantry and welcome to another episode of March Canning Madness. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, March Canning Madness is a collaboration with Constance over at Cosmopolitan Cornbread, where a bunch of YouTube people are doing canning videos all through the month of March. I'll link her channel below. She's putting a playlist together of everyone who's participating, all their videos, so you can binge watch canning recipes if you want, or you can also watch my own canning playlist. I will link that in an iCard. Today, we are making some bruschetta and canning it up. I have here 9 cups of tomatoes. These are plum tomatoes, and full disclosure, I bought these from the store. It's March. I can't grow tomatoes right now. Normally, I would wait till summer to make this. There's 2 reasons I didn't. One, I'm out of this, and I like it. I want to have it on hand, and I've got like 3 more months before I have tomatoes ready. And these actually looked good in the store today. And 2, I wanted to give you ideas for the future because I don't know about you, but for me, this time of year, the seedlings are started, the planting is done. I'm still doing garden prep on the good days, the good weather days, but I'm starting to compile recipes to use fresh stuff from the garden, canning recipes, freeze drying ideas, dehydrating, all the food preservation ways to capture my summer harvest that I can't eat fresh. And so I wanted to give you guys this idea in case you want to make it and have it ready in your repertoire for the summer when you are just overrun with tomatoes, or maybe you see some really good ones at the farmer's market or something like that. So 9 cups of diced tomatoes. These are about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Just kind of big to me, but that's what the recipe calls for. By the way, this recipe is from Ball Canning. I will link the recipe below. I didn't want to mess too much with the size because if you make them smaller, then it puts more tomato in each one, which can change the acidity level of things. And I don't want to mess with that too much. It should still be safe, but just in case. This is made kind of like pickles are, where this stuff is going to go in a jar and we're going to make a brine over on the stove that we pour over it. So let me show you what's in the brine. We have white wine vinegar. And you need a dry white wine. This is Sauvignon Blanc. You can use Chardonnay. I'm not really a good wine person, so white dry wine. Balsamic vinegar. Now, both of these, the white wine vinegar and the balsamic vinegar, should be 5% acidity or higher. It should say on the bottle what it is. Sometimes it'll say it right under the label, but like on this one, it's a tiny little thing down here. On this bottle, it is right under the label right there. So you should be able to find the acidity of your vinegar on the bottle. Someone asked me about that. So I want to say that I have basil here that I dried. You're going to use dried herbs in this recipe. So basil, I didn't have enough left in my thing, so I got my jar. I am almost out of basil, y'all. This is from the garden. Oregano, I still have plenty of that from the garden. Some sugar, some water, and I'm going to get some garlic. You can use fresh garlic. I'm just going to use the pre-minced garlic for me so I don't have to mince it. And that is all that goes in the brine. So I've got my jars. I'm doing 1/2 pint today. They are over in my water bath canner. It is a water bath recipe. They're over in the water bath canner getting hot and sterilized, and I'm going to get over there and get started on the brine. All right, getting started on this brine. I am putting in a big couple of, like a 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic. 5 cloves is what you want. I like more garlic. Can't mess with it too much though. So 5 cloves of garlic, or like a big heaping 1.5 tablespoons. I'm going to do a cup of the dry white wine. And an equal amount, a cup of the white wine vinegar. Okay. Get my heat on now that I've got something besides garlic in there. A cup of white wine vinegar, 1/2 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of sugar. By the way, I am not a huge bruschetta on bread person. I do like it. I just, the normal way you eat it, like on a crostini, is not my favorite way to enjoy it. 2 tablespoons each of the basil and the oregano, remember dried. So there are lots of ways to use bruschetta. It's just under a tablespoon. I need to add more. I do like the bruschetta on the bread, like your normal appetizer, but it's a great, it's good flavor condiment type thing. It works really good for a lot of things, like putting it on meat, chicken, for example, grilled chicken breast, ladle some bruschetta over the top, shave some Parmesan on it, really good. You can also put it on fish. You can put it on tacos, fish tacos. It's a really good combo. You can put it in a garnish on top of a soup or something. Just anything that you would want a little tomato and balsamic flavor. It's a good place you can probably swap it out. I'm not sure if I mentioned, I did 2 tablespoons each of the dried basil and the dried oregano. And then the last ingredient is 2 tablespoons of the balsamic vinegar. Let me get my liquid tablespoon measure here. Okay. And then this is just going to cook down. What we're going to do is bring it to a full boil. And then after it gets to a boil, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer and simmer it for 5 minutes. What we're trying to do with this is not only get it hot enough to do what it needs to do as far as food safety, but there's garlic in there, and the garlic needs to be heated like all the way through really well for food safety. So, I mean, there's a lot of acid in here. Should be safe, but it's still, garlic is something that takes a little bit different of an application. I'm going to let that come to a boil, and I'll bring it back here. All right, I'm at a full rolling boil here, so I'm going to bring it down to a simmer, and I'm going to let it simmer for 5 minutes before I get it into the jars with the tomatoes. All right, my brine is almost ready, so I pulled my jars out, and I'm getting tomatoes in, and while I'm doing this, I thought I would mention 2 things I forgot. One is that a benefit of this recipe, or a feature that I like, is that you don't have to peel the tomatoes. A lot of summer recipes for tomatoes, you have to blanch and peel, de-seed. There's my timer. My brine is ready. And de-seed the tomatoes, and this one does not call for that, so that's awesome. And the second thing is that my family, when I was mentioning ways to use this, I totally forgot to mention that one of the ways my family likes to eat this bruschetta is in pasta, like bruschetta pasta. There's a lot of recipes online for that. But really what you're doing is using bruschetta instead of a pasta sauce. And that is super, it's really good. I like to cube up mozzarella and put in it. So I'll just toss, like cook pasta, toss it with a jar or 2 of the bruschetta, cube up some mozzarella to toss it, and I usually finish it with like an extra drizzle of olive oil and balsamic vinegar. I'm making these pack down. These are 1/2 pint jars. And I had 7 ready because last time I made it, that is how many it made, but I feel like I have a lot more tomatoes this time. Okay, let's get the brine out and get these ready. Alrighty. So we're doing a 1/2 inch headspace on these. This is one of those recipes that you do need to debubble. In case you couldn't tell when I was pouring the brine in, there are lots of places for bubbles to hide in here. You can hear it gurgle when you pour the brine, and it kind of starts to fill in holes. Okay. inch. All right, I forgot to get my little dish of vinegar ready. Let's get the rims cleaned. This is really a vinegary dish, so I'm not as worried about there being fat or sticky stuff on the rims, but I do want to make sure there's no debris like herbs or tomato juice or something that's going to prevent the seal. You want the rings to have contact with the glass with nothing in between. And get the rings on. These are going to process for 20 minutes for normal people. If you're between 1,000 and 3,000 feet like me, you will need 25 minutes. We're doing these fingertip tight. Remember that you don't start your timer on the processing until the water comes back up to a boil in the canner. Okay, I'm going to get these in the canner and we'll be ready to process. All right, I will see you again when these come out.